Hello everyone, welcome back to our Bible story channel. Today we are talking about the story of the Ten Commandments. Before we dive into it, please subscribe to our channel and join this educative community. In this channel, we give you detailed and entertaining parts of the Bible. The information given is very detailed and will really help in schoolwork. In ancient Egypt, the Israelites lived as slaves under the oppressive rule of Pharaoh. Their cries for deliverance reached the heavens, and God chose Moses, a man raised in Pharaoh's palace but with a heart for his people, to lead them to freedom. After a series of miraculous plagues that demonstrated God's power, Pharaoh finally let the Israelites go. They embarked on a journey through the wilderness, guided by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. 3 months into their journey, the Israelites camped at the base of Mount Sinai. The mountain was a sacred place where God would reveal his laws to his people. Moses ascended the mountain to meet with God, who instructed him to prepare the people for a divine encounter. The Israelites were to consecrate themselves, wash their clothes, and abstain from certain activities to be ready for the third day when God would descend on the mountain. On the third day, Mount Sinai was enveloped in smoke and fire, and the sound of a loud trumpet filled the air. The entire mountain trembled, and the people stood in awe and fear at the base. Moses led the people to the foot of the mountain, and God spoke to them from the midst of the fire, giving them the 10 Commandments. The first commandment was, "You shall have no other gods before me." God's first commandment was a call to exclusive worship. The Israelites were to recognize and worship only the one true God, rejecting all other deities. This commandment emphasized the importance of loyalty and devotion to God alone. In a polytheistic world, this was a radical call to monotheism, setting the Israelites apart from their neighbors. The second commandment was, "You shall not make for yourself a graven image." The second commandment forbade the creation of idols or images for worship. God wanted his people to worship him in spirit and truth, not through physical representations. This was to prevent the corruption of their faith and to keep their worship pure. Idolatry was a common practice in ancient cultures, and this commandment aimed to protect the Israelites from adopting such practices. The third commandment was, "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain." This commandment instructed the Israelites to treat God's name with reverence and respect. Misusing God's name in swearing, false oaths, or casual speech was prohibited. It underscored the sacredness of God's identity. In ancient times, a name was more than just a label, it represented the essence and authority of a person. Thus, misusing God's name was seen as a serious offense. The fourth commandment was, "Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy." God commanded his people to set aside the seventh day of the week as a day of rest and worship. The Sabbath was a sign of the covenant between God and Israel, reminding them of God's creation and their deliverance from Egypt. It was a day to cease from labor and focus on spiritual renewal. This commandment highlighted the importance of rest and reflection, promoting physical and spiritual well-being. The fifth commandment was, "Honor your father and your mother." The fifth commandment emphasized the importance of family and respect for parents. By honoring their parents, the Israelites would ensure the stability and continuity of their society. This commandment also carried a promise of long life and well-being. Respect for parents was seen as foundational for a healthy community, as it fostered respect for authority and tradition. The sixth commandment was, "You shall not murder." God's sixth commandment prohibited the taking of innocent life. It underscored the sanctity of human life and the need for justice and respect for others. This commandment laid the foundation for a society built on peace and respect for human dignity. It also highlighted the value of each individual, created in the image of God. The seventh commandment was, "You shall not commit adultery." The seventh commandment called for faithfulness in marriage. Adultery was seen as a serious breach of trust and a threat to the family unit. This commandment promoted the values of fidelity, trust, and integrity in relationships. In a society where family was the basic unit, protecting the sanctity of marriage was crucial for social stability. The eighth commandment was, "You shall not steal." God's eighth commandment forbade taking what did not belong to oneself. It emphasized the importance of honesty and respect for others' property. This commandment was essential for maintaining trust and fairness within the community. It also encouraged a sense of contentment and respect for others' labor and possessions. The ninth commandment was, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor." The ninth commandment prohibited lying or giving false testimony. It highlighted the importance of truthfulness and integrity in all dealings. This commandment was crucial for ensuring justice and trust in the community. In a legal context, false testimony could lead to wrongful punishment, making truthfulness essential for justice. The 10th commandment was, "You shall not covet." The final commandment addressed the inner desires and attitudes of the heart. God instructed his people not to covet their neighbor's possessions, spouse, or anything else. This commandment aimed to cultivate contentment and gratitude, preventing envy and greed. It recognized that wrongful actions often stem from wrongful desires, thus addressing the root cause of many sins.